Welcome to The Edge by Behemoth Drivetrain, where we talk with the best, the boldest, and the ones pushing the sport of off-roading to the bleeding edge of performance. Don't forget to hit subscribe to stay updated on our latest episodes. Let's dive in.
Welcome everybody to The Edge, sponsored by Behemoth Drivetrain, and I'm your host, Tiffany Andrews. Today, we're going to have Josh Dodsworth from American Iron on. Welcome, Josh. Thank you for making the time.
Anytime.
So, Josh, how did American Iron come about in the position you're in with it?
It's kind of a long story. I'll try to make it as short as possible. I had solid axle swapped in '06 Tacoma out of college. I really wasn't. I didn't do much off-roading stuff until I bought that truck and totally chopped it apart, not having any welding experience. And that was the first rig that I actually learned on. And as it progressed, I was always scared that I was going to. I would literally drive like 9 hours and wheel some of the really hard lines and trails with some of the buggy guys, and they'd always say, "Oh, you're gonna tear up your nice pristine little truck," and I'd be like, "Yeah, just go ahead. Like I'll follow. It's okay." And I always thought that repair would probably be on the forefront of my problems, and I just kept wearing them out no matter what I ran, and so I decided to try something. And you'll laugh at this. I had a spare room in my small house that I lived in at the time that I tore the carpet out of, and it was a screened-in front porch, so it was just like carpet pad on concrete. So I was like, "Oh, this will be perfect." I didn't even have a shop at the time. Tore the carpet out of it. I built a little bench in the corner, and I put a vise on it, and literally bought a drill press from Harbor Freight and ruined like 3 drill bits, drilling out a stock tapered bushing to like put a Home Depot bolt through and just be like, see, it'll fit. So physically, I just had to like think through it in my head. So it was really stupid starting out, and you're just like, it works. And I kind of pursued it because I was part of an off-road forum at the time. This was before Facebook got popular. Shows just how old I really am. And they said, "Oh, that'll never work because if it was supposed to work like that, if it was that easy, somebody would do it." And I really don't like being told like what I can and can't do. And so, yeah, here I am. 8 years later. Yeah. I told you you'd laugh. Yeah, wow.
And so, thanks to a spare bedroom, we have American Iron.
We do. A spare bedroom and a few extra hours for sure.
So, how did you go from there to where your company is today?
It's a very interesting story. So my faith is something that I don't convey probably enough in the business side of things, or maybe that's better left out. So my background is physical therapy. I was a physical therapist assistant for 16 years, and so the ideas behind the designs that I do are mostly based on biomechanic theory and application. Which is interesting. Some people think that's a big disparity, but it's actually pretty. They're pretty aligned closely. And I actually remember when I started this, I was a single dad. My son was very young, maybe he's 12 now. I've been doing this 8 years. He was 4, and
So 4?
yeah, and he's 12 now, and I was really struggling at the time, just like trying to figure out how to do better. And I kept hearing, like in my head, which I interpret as, God, telling me to just do it. And I know it's very odd to hear, But like every single time I would think of it, he would just be like, "Do it, do it," and I would think of it, and it would just be, I'd always get the same, "You need to do this." It's very odd, makes no sense. People are going to think I'm absolutely nuts. Um, but it was that one thing that I was just like, I remember sitting on the floor with him and was like just broke down because I wanted to do better, and that was the way to do it. It's very interesting, but that was just like that was the moment that I was like, this is what I'm going to do. It's very very interesting.
That's powerful. It truly it's very powerful and moving because I was going to ask you what is your driving force, but obviously you
That's a
just
lot of
told
it. Yeah,
us.
I mean, yeah, I'm extremely stubborn by nature, and I always have been. And I've always been a big proponent of constant improvement, sometimes to a fault. Um, but I always push to improve and make something better. If it's not ball joint delete systems, it's you know, um, being in the weight room or building something, even marriage. I mean, me and my wife have been married a little over 2 years now, and that's something that I'm constantly trying to work on, especially with kids. But that's hard. Guys like can like put something on a table and fix it, but when it's not a physical object, it's a little bit tougher. So fixing a delete system is much easier than kids and marriage for sure. But yeah.
It absolutely I want to say I can understand more than I think that's something that we all, especially in the off-road industry, is trying to find that balance of work and family and fun and what we love and our passions. And it's just one of those things that it's easier to do the harder stuff than the simple stuff in some aspect.
I will say, um, we typically grow. Um, so we literally went from when I went from I did this several years before I actually established like my LLC and began being an official business. Um, this was this was 6 at night till midnight, five at least 5 nights a week. So at least Monday through Friday, it was 6 a.m. to midnight in my shop. Um, After it became a business, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym, go to work from 8 or 7 to 5, get home, eat dinner, get in the shop 6 p.m. to midnight. That's 5 days a week. Um, and then my son, I had Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that's Saturday and Sunday makes up for those Tuesday and Thursdays. So I did that for 3 years before starting the LLC, and then the first year that I took it seriously, we kind of launched the Dana 44 systems, and it went. I worked hard on it. We went from 50,000 in a year with me just kind of messing with it to 250 to 500 to a little over 1 million last year, and then this year um, doing really well. So that's the progression is very quick. When quick in the view of after it officially became a business, not quick in the 3 to 4 years before that. That all that time, I mean, you work, make a little, and then just continue to work. And it's hard, like you said, the switch for me is very hard to flip off. I am always it's just become so part of me to be on my phone and working and cruising the Facebook Jeep things, looking for people to ask questions, just to help people. That's my default mode is to help, but it is tough to flip that switch off when that's all you've done for that 8-year period to make it what it is.
So let's talk about what American Iron has to offer.
Sure. Our flagship products are ball joint delete systems. The probably the number one selling one is for the Dana 30 and 44 for the 1990 to 17 JKs. Just for the sticklers out there, they did make a JK into 18. Don't kill me for that. But in 18 and on, they made a JL and a JT. So probably the number one selling product that we have is our 1103 delete system. That's the part number for that one. And then we launched a Dodge or an AAM delete system. That's done really well. And we've always had a Ford Dana 60 delete system that guys really beat on. All of them have been great, and they all work on a similar premise. So it's pretty consistent.
So do you have any other products in the works?
Oh boy, I've got a notebook full of stuff that I wish I had. I wish I had $1 million to just kind of throw at it all at once. We do. We just launched not long ago a super badass set of tie rod ends. They're a billet 4140 pre-hard material that is water jetted and then finished machined. It's an offset tie rod end, so it's a billet piece. And the way the joint works is really interesting. We actually separate. I learned this from a delete system cup that was machined too big, and the bearing spun inside of it. So we actually isolate the bearing rotation from the misalignment, so you can fit an F1 fit bearing and a tie rod end and not have it flop, but the bearing actually spins inside the housing. So left to right, it spins freely, so you don't have the drag on the steering, but you still get that F1 fit bearing, so the rod doesn't flop around. And we paired that with a 2-inch 7075 tie rod, so it's substantial. Very cool. Yep.
It sounds it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go check that out then.
It's a big.
Apologize that I didn't yet.
I didn't realize how big it was until we shot the video in the shop, and I was like, your hands around it, like, good God, that thing is ginormous. But we have that. That's our newest one, and then we've had Knuckles and C's for a while now. They're a specific blend of alloy. It's cast. It's actually kind of neat. We do all those in the States, so we don't import any of that stuff. It's cast in a foundry in Virginia, and then it's machined and powder coated, and then we box it up and ship it from here. So those are all 100% done in the USA without any imported stuff. So those are kind of cool.
Definitely. So in the next year, what are some of your goals for American Iron?
Oh boy. I want to take over the world. 2025 goals. Yeah, right. We're in the midst of building an Ultra 4 car, which Behemoth is helping us out with the NP205 case. So that will be a really interesting car. I can talk about it for just a second. We're going to run. I've got a 6.2 Hellcat motor we're putting in it, and we're putting an 8 HP 95, which is an 8-speed that ZF makes. Extremely reliable transmission that holds up to a lot of abuse. And then Behemoth was kind enough to work with us on an input direct splined for that trans. So I cannot wait to pair those bad boys up. We are going to run. It's a solid axle car. We are developing a 2-gear portal for the rear only, so that reduction will match the front. So we literally have a lot of clearance in the rear. So if you get on something and you clear with the front, you don't have to worry about where the rear is at. You just go. And we're pairing that with a 14-bolt dropout that we do. We've experimented some with those. Don't have those on the site. We're going to kind of prove those out with the race car and do a solid launch then. But it's a billet aluminum 14-bolt dropout, and we do the housings as well. So it'll be interesting. Low slung car. It's about 17-inch belly height, boat sided pretty significantly. So it's been fun to package stuff, but it'll be cool. So
Okay.
obviously I want to finish that car. Um, we're going to come out with some more stuff. Can't really allude to too much on that because I'll have calls like left and right on when it's gonna. I've learned my lesson. Don't talk about too much of that stuff. But we do have some stuff that we're working on for sure. We want to get into the side by side market. I don't know if that'll happen in 2025. We're still proving out some stuff. We we test out quite a bit more initially than we used to. The hard thing for me was starting out was I blindly ran into it thinking that I'll do something cool, and I had to catch up with 30 years of Jeeps. People just like flogging me, and I was like, dude, this was what did I do? In a good way, in a good way. So now we try to come out with something like for the JL and JTs that you grow into. You don't have to catch up with like 30 years worth of Jeeps and just suicide yourself with work. But yeah.
So you're not going to give us any other little tidbits of information?
um.
Just one.
So probably before the end of next year, I've had some calls to do a JL and JT Inter C. So we are. It will be a fabricated C. But yeah,
Nice.
we're working on a lot of. I will say we're working on a lot of internal stuff. So I do too much, and I've done it for too long, and so I have some fantastic people that I work with that are helping me with that, and they have for a while. So it's hard for me to let go of stuff because it's my baby, right? I'm sure a lot of you guys can sympathize. So I'm doing better a little bit at a time of giving stuff for those guys to do. And me stepping back a little bit. So my concentration in 25 is not to be working in my business, but be working on my business. So um, right now we're working on distribution and some things like that to take me away from some of my duties. So we have a machine that runs all of our stuff. So I literally oversee the inventory on what we need. I order the material, um, pick it up, and get it to the machine. I help quality control check it. I literally inspect it before it goes to plating. Um, I have somebody that drives, picks it up, delivers it back to me. I have um, partial assembly, but I'm the one that final assembles to check everything, and then I package, um, label, and ship. And that's just that side. That's working in the business and not on it. So the on is completely separate of that, where we're working with marketing and what are we coming out with next? What's the launch look like? What's social media look like? The questions, the calls, like it's a lot, but I asked for it, right?
It's not that you ask for it, but
I
the
did.
it's the problems that come with
Growth.
pushing the envelope in the offer, like in any business, of being successful. And
For sure.
they're amazing problems to have.
It's not for everybody. Balance is still something that I work on. You mentioned earlier. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable for really odd periods, lengths of time. So it's just kind of normal for me. Everybody else around me, not so much. My wife's like, just stop. And I'm like, what? Stop what? Just, just quit. Just come to bed like it's midnight. Come on. But yeah, it's crazy.
So with all this in the past 8 years, beyond that, what has been like some of those hard obstacles that you've had to come, and like what made you push further?
It's actually a really good question. Um, so when I had help when we went from 50 to 250, or after we went from 250, I hired a couple of people, and the big question was, where do you want to go with this? Is this just something that you want as a job, or what? And I was kind of like, I don't know. Let's see how far it goes. And for me to just say that I just wanted a job to carry me out till I retire, and I would never know how big it would get, is not acceptable. Like I just can't not know. Um, is it a $1 million a year business? Is it a five? Is it a 10? Is it a 20? Like I want to find out. So the growth has been it's been interesting. That's been the toughest part. And the stuff. I mean, I started out just wanting to make cool stuff, right? Like everybody else that goes down the rabbit hole. And here you are getting into to wholesale deals and learning the business side of it, and not just the design and the fun rock crawler. Let's go break some stuff side. So that's been very interesting. I don't know how well I answered that, but it's been
No,
a
it's
challenge. That
good
that
because it's
Go ahead.
what. So you talked about like the different types of years, a 1 million, 10 million, 500, like thousand type thing. What makes you stand out compared to other companies with similar products and helping you get to that level?
That's my. We were actually having a talk about this yesterday. My trying to think how to say it. Um, if you if you do everything your competition does, you turn into your competition, right? You all look the same. Um, whether it's your ads look the same, or your products look the same, or your statements look the same, like the whole corporate. I hate that with a passion. Um, I want to be the one that's like not ostracized, but I want to be different. I want to do something funny. Literally, Labor Day sale, right? So we don't really do many sales, but we're doing a Labor Day sale this year. And I told my marketing guy, I'm like, I want a G-rated picture of a woman in labor, and I want a knuckle like right down there, just to get people's attention. Like we obviously know Labor Day is not about like women having babies. I'll put that in the description, but that's my sense of humor. Like, but a big company is probably not going to mix in the sense of humor with that, and I just have these kind of zany ideas, and um, the marketing and that kind of thing. I want to be set apart, but the products that we do, the way that I do them, I want to be set apart. My goal is to accomplish a certain outcome with as few parts as possible to make it simple, but yet perform better. And it's a very difficult balance. So the more intricate parts that you have, like set screws and wiper seals and adjustable this and adjustable that, don't don't want to have anything to do with that. There's a faster way to Walmart. Um, when you go to do that, you just have to pair the parts together in the right order and find the solution with the minimal amount of parts necessary. And that's exactly what we do. And I think we do it really well.
That is
If
an
that makes
amazing
if that
way
makes sense.
to how to answer
Yeah.
that question.
It's kind of like I call it tech, and it's kind of funny. Like you have to go through so much tech to find the simplest way to do it, and it seems like this oxymoron, but you're like, it would be kind of like comparing shooting a space shuttle into outer space versus just a human being jumping and going into outer space. Like, obviously, you can't do that. So you would have to have a lot of technology wrapped up in a human being that could do that versus a space shuttle. But yet it looks so simple. It's just a man, right? Like, so I don't know. It's something.
No, and it's a you're not just trying to do the better product, or not just better and easier to install and everything, but you're also trying to be different and push away from like your competitors, as far as, like you said, your marketing, the way you just stand out amongst the rest. Not only do you like, your product speaks for itself, but you also have that attention with your marketing and stuff as well.
Yeah. When I design something, um, it'll go through several stages, and I'll design something that I like, and then I will set it there, and I'll switch modes, and I'll be a competitor, right? And I'll look at that and I'll say, okay, attack that. Where's it weak? Where is it strong? Um, and my goal is to make a product that is strong enough to race on, and and cushy and compliant enough to drive on the street, and you have the full spectrum. So we don't just make stuff for off-road vehicles, for rock bouncers and Ultra 4 racers. Literally all of our stuff, you can count on it being strong enough to race on, but we've gone through the steps and done the work to make it streetable and handle extremely well. I'm the only one that I know of in the industry that uses a through bolt system where you can actually adjust steering firmness. Without a through bolt system that's double captured, you can't do that, because like a ball joint, you're only pulling from one direction, and then you're essentially dislocating that ball from inside the socket. So there's no way to put tension on it to control steering firmness. So yeah, once I figured that out, it was like this light bulb, and I tested it on two vehicles, and like had a call that the next day with my team, and I'm like, oh, by the way, we're changing over to a double-ended stud on everything that I can, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, do you guys trust me or do you not? Like, this is what I'm doing. So you guys can figure your part out, but that's the direction we're going. So it's interesting. I try to listen to them, and I do for the most part, but it's always fun. It's a push and pull.
Well, you're talking about like your team and everything else, like from starting off in a spare bedroom to now having a team to help. What's like the biggest accomplishment that you have had so far with like all of that?
Um, Biggest accomplishment, man. I don't know. Like, you're never really there. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, I don't ever think I'll ever feel like I've ever arrived to that point. Like, they're all, gosh dang, American Iron as a whole is just an accomplishment. It's a working, living thing. It's so stupid because it was never supposed to be anything like this. Like, this wasn't gonna be a full-time job. This was literally a voice in my head that just said do it, and it's like, okay, like this way, or no, just do it. You're like, oh, okay, figure this out. But it's gosh, we talk about it like every year. We sit at KOH and we're like, isn't this crazy? Like, my IT guy, and like I'll fly a friend or two out and pick them up on the way up, and they're just like, I don't work here. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I want you to be part of this. I don't care. Um, so like we spend the week in the desert and try to have a good time and do a little bit of work while we're there. But it was never was never meant to be that. And then it just kind of started. So I was like, oh, you're looking up like I got you now. Got it. Good call. Like appreciate it. Um, so it's interesting for sure. Which it's also really funny because like on the faith side of things, right? You're supposed to tithe 10%. And we were sitting in church one Sunday, and I really struggled with this, and I was like thinking about what 10% was, and I was like, man, like that's like I don't want to do that. That's a lot of money, for me. And then it was like I got smacked on the back of the head, and it was like, hey, you idiot, like you had a nervous breakdown when your kid was 4 sitting in your living room in your 2-bedroom house. You wanted this, and now you won't give me the 10% that I asked for. Like, who are you? And it's like, oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. In a span of about 30 seconds, right? It could have been like, oh yeah, yeah, I did ask for this, and you're right. Like that's yours. So
You were speaking about KOH. You were talking about your build that you have coming up. You're getting your case soon from Behemoth. I know that. Are we going to see that out of
say that
KOH
again.
for 2025?
2025
Are we
will
going
be
to be
there.
seeing this new build?
So I've got the chassis all tacked together. When we get moved in the new shop, I'm going to do some videos on that. I'm tacking everything together. I am not a competent TIG welder, and I wanted it out of chromoly. So when the chassis is all TIG together, and it looks nice, I'm going to have the drivetrain in it. We're going to shoot some footage for Behemoth for sure. I'm so psyched to see that case. I'm kind of giddy about it, to be honest with you. I'll have the first one that fits the 8 HP. So we'll be there.
It's
We'll
going
be
to
there
come.
this next
And
year.
if people don't
Yeah,
know, with Behemoth Drivetrain, I know they pride themselves not just on their product and their build, but also their packaging, because they have some pretty sweet packaging. Imagine when that shows up.
we've actually been looking at the same kind of stuff for packaging, and it's like I'm not a big like I don't really care what the packaging looks like. I want what's inside to be cool, but I've watched some of the unboxing videos and see that blue, and I'm just like I'm really kind of looking forward to this. Like it's gonna be really pretty for sure. And the Atlas case is cool, or the Apex case. Man, I said Atlas. That's bad. Um, the Apex case that they have now is all cast and it's machined out, so that'll be a big win for them to bring that to the fight for sure. That'll be interesting. Looking forward to that for them.
Absolutely. And they do have some other fun projects going on. I know when I interviewed Jim Wynn on the Edge, he talked to us all about the products. And if people that are tuning in now, if you have not got to see that, please make sure you go back to check out that podcast with the owner of Behemoth Drivetrain and talking about all their fun stuff that they have coming up and working on right now.
Super good guy, him and Dylan. We talked at length. We talk at length about every time we meet. At Pigeon Forge and then Trail Hero. Good group of guys. He actually took what did I take him? I think it was an adapter housing or something to the back or a gear set. He was customs got a little not bent out of shape, but a little suspicious because he had the stuff packed in his case when he was flying back from Trail Hero last year. That was pretty funny. He's like, yeah, they took a look at that.
No, Jim's an awesome guy. Great person, great drive to be leading Behemoth. and getting them further and further with their new builds and products that they have to offer. And I think everybody's pretty stoked with having him as the owner for Behemoth.
Gosh, leadership is tough. Like, if you ever talk to somebody that thinks they have it all figured out, oh boy, run the other way, because it's just I make decisions that I think are really good, and I'm I don't bat 1,000, but it's always it's a skill to learn for sure. So yeah, without leadership, it's difficult.
But thanks to people like you, like Jim Wynn, we talked about we're going to have Jake Good on here with running We Rock. We're speaking to Eric Amato of Radial Dynamics.
Ooh.
We're talking to Cam Beasley of Crazy Cruiser Motorsports, who is a team driver, and Tyler Harper as well, a team driver for Behemoth, both Ultra 4 and rock crawling. And they're all leaders in their own world. And without that, we need people like you and the other people I mentioned, because you guys are a driving force to keep pushing the limits with everything and trying to find bigger and better ways on how to prove it and give customers, spectators, some amazing things.
We do our best.
So we talked about our goals and everything else. Do you have an actual end goal for American Iron, or you're just going to keep pushing the limits and innovation?
Um, B, yeah. My my end goal is to pass it on to my son if he chooses to do that. He's 12, so he doesn't really know what he wants. But when you ask him what he wants to do, he'll say, I want to do what you do, Dad. I want to take over your business." So there's a lot that even I didn't know when I started it, and he might. I don't want him to hate it. I don't want it to be this. I would never give it to him if I thought it was going to be a curse to him. I would literally sell it and be like, "Go do what you want to do, because this is not it. This is not for you." So that I would never do. For me, I think once we get to a certain number of sales, which I think will probably happen, 2026 or 7, then I can probably make a decision on what I want to do from then on out. So much stuff's haywire. Uh, as a whole this year, I think the SEMA report reported that automotive industry across the board is somewhere between like 25 and 35 to 40% down, which is something that we didn't anticipate, but we're still growing even in that circumstance, which is kind of crazy. So if you're in the automotive industry right now and you're pulling even with the numbers that you pulled last year, that's a win. I don't I hate hearing that, because I'm always this, this steady incremental improvement. So for me to say that I'm pulling even and I feel like that's a win is not that doesn't come from me. That comes from people telling me that. I don't like to hear that. Um, but I think somewhere around 2027 is probably when I'll take a step back, and if we hit what I think we can or going to, um, then I can kind of decide on what I want to do. You can't at any time, right? Like I'd be comfortable doing what I do the way I do it for until I died. I don't really feel like people talk about retirement, and I'm like, if I was going to retire, I'd probably do the same thing, to be honest with you. I'd probably be a little bit more choosy about what I want to do. But I love what I do. It's a good time.
So before we end this, one thing I want to ask you for our viewers is, what is some good information that you would like to share with them that is good to know about you, what you do, and what American Iron does?
For sure. Um, we do everything differently. When somebody calls, they get me. And I want to keep it that way as absolutely long as I can. That's the last thing that I probably want to give up. If 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 the company hits what I think it will in 2027, and the only thing I want to do is take tech calls, it's fine. Nobody knows the delete systems and how they operate, or little workarounds when people have something that goes wonky than I do. That would be an extremely hard position to train. Um, so yeah, we're extremely family oriented. We do things a little bit differently. We like to be different. I don't agree with a lot of big corporate stuff, and that comes with growth. We'll get some of that, but I want to try to keep a lot of that to a minimum. If somebody has any issues with something, like we always work with them. On the very, very rare occasion that I get that special person that's just not real nice, I can make the decision to politely as I can put them in the place and be like, okay, we can have this conversation, but it's not going to go that way. And I think it's important as business owners that we be as nice to people as possible. But if somebody chooses not to be nice, to know where that line is, as a business owner. I literally had a guy the other day. Talked to him earlier. He called me, and it was 110 degrees in Tucson, and he was putting his system together, and he was having some trouble with the instructions. Um, and he was railing me up and down, and I was driving at the time, and I was like, okay, hold on just a second. Like I had to tell him like 3 or 4 times, right? Because he was hot, and I was like, dude, I get super pissy when it's like above 85 degrees and I'm sweating and things aren't going right. Like I get pissed. And he's like, I'm so mad. And I'm like, oh, I get it. I totally agree with you. Um, so usually, not even in this instance, but just usually agreeing with somebody to get them on your side and then leading them down the path, works much better. So I'm a big proponent of human behavior overall. Um, got his stuff worked out, and he was good, but he just had to like he just wasn't quite holding his mouth right. He just couldn't quite see it, you know. And then when he did, he's like, "Oh, um, I'm sorry." I'm like, "It's okay. I knew this would go this way, but just had to like, calm him down without being like, calm down, man." But he was good. But every once in a while, you get that one that's real fun, and probably shouldn't say this. So they have glitter bombs for special people, and I may or may not have sent a glitter bomb to a couple of good, not good customers. It's not my responsibility on how they take it. It's a gift, but yeah. Only
It's the
two,
ki-
two
it's
in
the
like
gift that
8 years is a
keeps
really
on
good record.
giving.
Oh man, I get the extra fine glitter too. That's like really hard to get. Yeah, yeah. So if you're watching this and you've gotten a glitter bomb from American Iron, you're welcome.
I feel like that is the perfect way to end this. Josh, it has been a pleasure getting to talk with you and just picking your brain and coming on to the edge. Make sure that you guys are checking out American Iron on their social media platforms, following them because they do have some fun stuff coming up. They are partnering up with Behemoth with their new Ultra 4 build, and we're looking forward to seeing that. Guys, make sure you're following Behemoth. We will have our podcast up and you're on the mailing list because you will be the first ones to know when our new podcast episode comes out. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
For sure.
Thanks for listening to The Edge by Behemoth Drivetrain. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and follow us on Instagram at Behemoth Drivetrain. Until next time, take care.